There's this feeling you sometimes get when you're using AI tools, where you finish a session and something just clicks. The report you're working on basically drafts itself while you have lunch. You clean it up, hit send, and suddenly feel relief. Like you've just gotten hours of your day back. And then you open your project tracker. It's the same as before. One small task is done, but the project, the one with your name on it, the one stakeholders are waiting on, that thing is exactly where you left it. This gap between tasks that finish quickly and projects that seem to drag on is an all too familiar feature of professional work in the post-ChatGPT world. And that's what I want to explain. Most people, when they hit that gap while using AI tools, either blame the technology itself, maybe even dismiss AI tools as being overhyped, or they assume the problem is their prompting. They might try different phrasings, different tools, or different approaches. Sometimes this helps, but most of the time, it doesn't, because prompting isn't really the problem. Here's what's actually going on. AI generates content faster than any individual human. What it can't do is figure out what you actually needed, or tell you whether what it produced is any good. Those two things, the definition and the judgment, still belong entirely to you. If you're not doing them deliberately, no prompt compensates. That's the insight behind the framework that I've developed to reimagine work in an era of ubiquitous artificial intelligence. It's called strategic orchestration. Every professional project, almost without exception, moves through 3 stages. A planning stage, where you work out what you actually need to produce, and for whom and why. A generation stage, where you produce it, and a review stage, where you decide whether it's any good. For most of professional history, generation was the whole problem. Writing took time. Research took time. The middle was where the hours went, which is why workflows were built around managing it. AI collapses that. Generation gets fast, startlingly fast, and it feels in those moments like the constraint has been lifted. It has. The problem is, you just walk immediately into the next constraint. You see, the planning stage didn't get any faster. Figuring out what you actually need, who it's for, what would make it fail for them, what success actually looks like, that's exactly as hard as it ever was. So when that work hasn't been done properly, and you hand the AI a thin brief, what comes back is what has become known as slop. Technically competent, entirely generic material, which is disconnected from the actual problem you're trying to solve, and inattentive to the genuine needs of your stakeholders. The constraint didn't disappear, it moved to the planning stage you thought you could skip. Strategic orchestration redesigns all 3 phases so that human effort lands where it actually matters. Phase 1, the front end. Before you open the AI, you do your strategic thinking. Not a rough idea of what you want, a specific account of the actual problem. Here's what that distinction looks like in practice. Say you need to produce a briefing for a client who's anxious about rising interest rates. The task is, write the briefing. The problem is more specific. This client trusts data over reassurance, disengages when the framing feels corporate, and needs to leave with one clear action. The AI can't know any of that on its own. If you don't bring it, what comes back will be generic, mildly reassuring, and beside the point. The front end is where you define the target. The AI can fill a shape. Only you can say which shape actually fits. Phase 2, the middle. This is the AI's phase. And if the front end was done properly, this is almost the least dramatic part. You execute, review, direct, and iterate. The mental model for the work that you do here is that of a conductor. You're not the one playing the instruments, but you're nevertheless responsible for everything the performance sounds like. Phase 3, the back end. This is where output stops being AI-generated content and becomes something with your name on it. The facts are checked, the logic is examined, and the tone is calibrated for the actual person reading it. This is the point where we ask the question that so often gets skipped when the deadline is close and the output looks polished. Does this truly solve the problem defined at the start? A deliverable can be fast, well-written, and completely useless. And the back-end review is what catches that before it goes out the door. AI can generate at a speed and scale that no individual can match. What it can't do is know your specific client situation, read the room, or carry the professional weight of your name. And those things don't get automated away in this framework. They move to the center of it. Which brings me back to that feeling I mentioned at the start of this video. When the AI session clicked, and your afternoon felt a little bit lighter. That's what the whole project ought to feel like. Strategic orchestration is the structure that makes it possible.